Modern society is built to reward us instantly. You click a button and food arrives. You hit play and the movie streams. This conditioning leads us to expect our finances to behave the same way. We look at a linear graph and assume building wealth is a one-to-one exchange, where saving $10,000 moves you exactly $10,000 closer to a final goal. That logic makes intuitive sense, but it causes most people to abandon their investments early. Relying strictly on physical labor to save $1 million by hand feels mathematically impossible, especially when you are measuring progress one paycheck at a time. However, capital grows exponentially through compound interest. It is a mathematical force so powerful that historical figures like Albert Einstein reportedly referred to it as the eighth wonder of the world. Your money begins earning returns, and then those returns generate their own returns. Grasping this exponential growth provides a way to move past the cycle of trading your physical time for a paycheck. To see how this works in practice, imagine you invest $500 every month. Reaching $100,000 takes nearly 8 years of consistent monthly deposits, assuming a 7% return. You're doing the heavy lifting. $46,000 comes from your contributions, and the remaining $54,000 represents the interest generated. Most people hit this point and quit. They look at their account after nearly a decade of discipline, wrongly assuming they're only 10% of the way to $1 million. But the math shifts here. Reaching the next $100,000 doesn't take another 8 years. It takes only 5 more years. By year 13, the account hits $200,000. These first 8 years serve as the necessary foundation required to trigger the math of momentum. As you move further down the timeline, compound interest overtakes human effort as the primary driver of your wealth. This brings us to a second tipping point at the $650,000 mark. At this stage, the focus shifts from the total balance to the annual yield. An 8% return on $650,000 generates $52,000 in passive income. For context, the median U.S. household earns $78,000 selling their labor. This portfolio produces a near median salary without physical work. Achieving this level changes how an individual views risk. When your investments yield enough to cover a significant portion of your basic expenses, career pivots or entrepreneurial leaps become realistic options. At this threshold, your assets act as an active tool that permanently buys back your time. If you maintain that $500 monthly discipline, you cross the $1 million threshold at the 29-year mark. Reaching 7 figures validates the discipline of the previous decades. You have proof that the system works, and your returns now handle the vast majority of the heavy lifting. After the first million, the math becomes incredibly fast. The portfolio needs just a 50% jump to reach 1.5 million. Historically, it can double to 2 million every 7 to 10 years. The time gaps between milestones collapse. At this stage, traditional retirement safety nets like Social Security serve as bonus income, effectively removing the fear of late-stage financial ruin. Crossing $1 million marks the mathematical point where your capital achieves breakaway velocity. Building wealth comes down to a predictable mathematical equation driven by absolute consistency. That consistency is tested during market crashes, yet economic downturns are actually essential tools for wealth acceleration. When the market dips, your constant $500 contribution buys more shares at a discount. When the market eventually recovers, those additional shares amplify the exponential curve. These financial milestones aren't about buying luxury items. They're about gaining the autonomy to design your life. Push through the punishing linear phase today so that exponential math can fund your freedom for the rest of your life.